Welcome to Santa Monica Island in the rebuilt California Keys.
Hello, this is Chris Pratt from Eurogamer, joined by Cliff Bleszinski, and we're here to talk about LawBreakers.
Darn right we are.
Your game's real fast, man. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed.
It's actually, since we did our first streams, it's actually even a little bit faster.
Sure.
Yeah, well, the thing was, you know, having people like Total Biscuit and people actually play the game and be hands-on, we found that, like, the larger characters, you know, a little bit too slow. And It wasn't necessarily that they were physically that much slower than the other characters. It's the fact that they were taller, you know, Kronos and Bombshell.
Yep.
So, naturally, in an FPS like this, if the camera's higher, the player feels like he's moving slower.
Right, so okay, so
there's
you need
a lot
them
of
to
little
feel...
tunes with FOV and with bumping up speed just based on just, you know, the pre-alpha alone. So.
Cool. Well, it seems to work from what I played briefly. And yeah, specifically, it feels like a PC game. It feels like one that you need a mouse and keyboard for. Now, I know at the moment you're a Steam exclusive, but you're not completely like counting out the fact that it might go to console one day. What do you feel about it?
I mean, you know, we like money and we like to keep the lights on.
Sure.
You know, and Sony and Microsoft need games, so you know we've talked to them a little bit, but it's one of those things we're not going to do the port ourselves.
Right.
The other thing is you need a partner, since this is going to be a living product, where hopefully it goes on for years. Where they're, you know, if we do the updates in the PC, the console version is going to need to get updated as well.
Right.
So as it's going to keep going, but the thing about the controller is that it's going to be tricky. You know, we've played it around with the controller a little bit, and the thing is if we get around to doing console ports, I don't want to do crossplay.
Right.
Like I've seen some people think that's like the holy grail for like a lot of games, and I'm like, no, I just like. If you have somebody with a keyboard and a mouse versus somebody with a controller, I'm sorry, the person with the keyboard and the mouse is going to win 9 times out of 10.
And with LawBreakers specifically, it's the verticality means that you need to be able to move and like react very quickly.
You really need to be like always looking around, always checking your 6 and everything like that. You know, I saw the new Gears of War demo today, stuck in there, front and center.
Of course.
You know, pull my strings and connections. It looks really good. I think they're doing a great job with it. But it reminded me of how, you know, non-vertical a game like Gears is. And I think this game is kind of the direct result of having worked on Gears for so long. It's like this game is a lot more colorful. This game is back to first person. This game's all about, it's not stop and pop. It's like go and flow. Ooh, that's good. I just came up with that.
That's good.
And
I like it.
it's really vertical, and so that's kind of what we're going for with this.
Yeah, well, we had a kind of brief tutorial before we played, and one of the things that when you guys mentioned is the moment you realize you can get in the air and above other people, everyone starts doing it because that's how you need to play. So
yeah, well, the other thing we're looking at is the fact that, you know, will we actually keep the iron sights in the game? It's debatable right now because when people were streaming, you know, when you give players the ability to play the game the exact same way as another game, they play it like Destiny or Call of Duty. They hang back with iron sights and they're zooming in, and we don't want to be a snipey type game. So we want people to be in the middle, like, you know, in that boiling mess of low gravity, or just kind of like coming at them from above and engaging instead of actually hanging back. So that's the kind of game we're going for.
Cool. You mentioned briefly that you're thinking about the lifespan of this game and you want it to be for years to come. What? I'm
not ready to retire.
Okay, so if LawBreakers is a success at launch, how do you see the years like following that? How does that play out?
If it's a success at launch, which we're not announcing the date, you know, maybe when it's still warm in the States, it remains to be seen. The game development's a dark art. It's one of those things that we're going to have staff up a little bit. You know, get a little bit bigger than 65, which is going to hurt me a little bit. But hopefully it's not going to have to get to 100, but it would be a good problem to have. But we're going to have one strike team that is responsible for just constant fixes, updates, balance, all that kind of stuff, keeping the damn game running for the game that people pay good money for, as well as the future content team that's making new maps, new characters, and all sorts of other things. And, you know, once you purchase this game, and again, it's not free to play, we're looking at $20 to $40 range US. It's one of those things, totally lost my train of thought. You need to continue to promise this content, and this content will always be free in regards to the new classes, the new maps.
Excellent, cool. That puts a lot of...
we don't want to segment our community. You know, the old way was to do DLC, so then you couldn't play the game unless you had the DLC, or people would be in either server. Matchmaking in a highly skill-based game is a tricky enough thing to do without adding in that extra X factor.
So if at the moment you're thinking about a $20 to $40 price point at launch, how do you fund that extra development afterwards? Like, well, what does LawBreakers do to bring more money in to make sure those changes happen?
You have a fun and interesting microtransaction system that people are happy to do. Like, you know, I'm not saying it's going to be a one-to-one with CSGO. I don't like, once I've spent money on a game, I don't like spending more money on it inside. It feels weird. But something has to justify keeping the lights on, and you know, everybody still needs to eat and feed their darn kids. CSGO's key crate system is really a brilliant example. I'm not saying we're doing that per se, but like, if I get a crate and I can't open it, I'm buying the keys. Like, I've done that multiple times in that game, and I'm usually happy with what I have, or I can break it down into something else that can contribute to. It's basically making your own economy within the game for that. You know, if you charge $60 for your game and then on top of that have a crate system,
Sure. And that kind of stuff would be cosmetic, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Things, yeah, nothing that impacts gameplay.
No, it's not going to be pay to win, I promise.
Excellent, good. One thing that I'm sure you're kind of maybe frustrated about talking about at this stage, but whenever LawBreakers comes up, people make that comparison to Overwatch because it's just come out, and there are some similar ideas there. Is that frustrating from your perspective?
Well, the human brain, I call it pattern match recognition or pattern match dismissal, where people, when they see something, they immediately want to put it in a bucket with something else. And there is some overlap in regards to the fact that we have characters and guns and weapons and whatnot. But the thing is our art style is a little bit more gritty. There's this very kind of super bright colors, almost anime-ish looking characters in certain instances. They're going for like bazillion different characters. We're going initially with less is more, and we're ramping up to find our balance. And them as a game are so much rock, paper, scissors. And for us, if I come around the corner in Overwatch and I have the wrong character and someone else has the right character in that rock, paper, scissors match, I'm dead. Okay. Like I don't stand a chance. For us, at least, and also in Overwatch, most of the time, if I ever enter a room with 4 or 5, 6 people in the other team, I don't really stand a chance at actually taking them all out. Okay. If you're really good at this game with any of the different roles and classes, you can take out an entire team. And it's not, every character is very useful just in different situations. You're not penalized by what you select when you spawn. Cool. Is that a philosophy that's going to carry on with future characters as well then? Yeah, that's as much as humanly possible. And one of our core pillars is to be a shooter. It's one of those things, our hitboxes are all accurate one-to-one with the characters, and these are the core things I think that core players really care about. We're not going to freeze the players. We're not going to allow them to be shot through walls or anything like that. And we're not going to stun them. We may slow them down in some instances, and all that stuff works well in the context of Overwatch, but it's not us. Okay. You wanted to keep feeling quick, keep feeling like a shooter. Yeah. Well, right. It's one of those things. If you're ever flowing through a game like this, especially because we have a little bit of that nice momentum when you come out of the gravity zone, you can jump and kind of skate along a little bit. The second it'd be like if you're just going for a jog and somebody just suddenly put a 1,000-pound weight on your feet and you just have to stop there. You're like, my sense of flow gets interrupted. And for me as an FPS player, I'm not a huge fan of that type of thing, and so I can promise we're not going to do it. Cool. So there isn't a release date yet, but what can we expect to see from LawBreakers over the next few months? The alpha is... The public alpha is hitting on the 18th. Okay. You can sign up at lawbreakers.com. It's on Steam. Start preloading right now on the 16th, actually. So you're not just sitting there day of going, I guess I'm just going to wait for this thing to download. And initially we're shipping with our Capture the Battery mode called Overcharge, right. The Grand View Grand Canyon map, the 4 main classes, and again, the game's narrative is asymmetrical, but the game's gameplay is symmetrical. And then in early July, we're going to roll out our new map, Promenade, which is my reimagining of Southern California, as well as Turf War, which is kind of our 3-point kind of fast domination, capture the point mode. Yep, and that's all coming with the alpha. At some bit, and it is actually an alpha, right? This is something that you're going to be looking at feedback and being like, okay, well now we can tweak this. I mean, the team was already agonizing over like the stuff Total Biscuit said about the damn game to a fault. So I had to tell everybody, like, stay the course, let's not knee-jerk with things. Take in consideration what the consensus is, look at the data, and then nudge. Don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and whatnot. And so it's one of those things, there's going to be parts of this game that are going to be broken. There's going to be crashes. There's going to be messed up stuff. And that's why we're doing this, so that people can actually, make the game with us, as I set out to do 2 years ago, now that we can finally do that. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Cliff. And we're avoiding handshakes, apparently. We're fist bumping. So we're going to fist bumps. All right. Cool. Excellent.